In the review I did yesterday of the Series 2 finale of Torchwood, I kind of made a point of how Torchwood just can't do good season finales. For Doctor Who, though, that's the opposite. They often do great series finales. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Kevin, I'm a geek, you're watching Kevin the Geek, and we are finally here for the Series 4 finale for new Doctor Who. This is The Stolen Earth and Journey's End. If you are new to my series of Doctor Who reviews, then go back, check out all the others. I've got a playlist for each individual series, and of course I will be continuing on. We've got the 2009 Doctor Who specials, you know, the last few episodes featuring David Tennant. And then, of course, we'll be needing to look at Series 5 featuring Matt Smith. Now, I will say that there will be a bit of a pause with that because, of course, we have got the Doctor Who 60th anniversary coming up. So I will be doing a bunch of different kind of reactions, rankings and reviews all within that month. So stay tuned for that and make sure you subscribe if you are new to the channel. Christmas month, you know, December, most regular stuff will go on hold for a little bit, but I still will have some Doctor Who related content, so make sure you stick around for that. And then probably in January time will be when I kick back into full gear with the Matt Smith era. But for today, of course, we are talking about the Series 4 finale. Now, this was an ambitious series finale, and I don't think that Russell T Davies appreciated how ambitious he was really being with his plans when he was coming up to it, because it is pretty ambitious as it is, and yet he has mentioned in his book, in The Writer's Tale, about some of the, you know, more ideas that he had with this, and I could go into great length into this episode about some of the stuff he goes on about. The one that struck me the most was the whole thing with the Shadow Proclamation, because when we get there, what we see in the episode just basically features the Jadoon and then the old woman person. I don't know, you know, who she really was. You know, it wasn't really made explicitly clear. But originally, the plans by Russell Davies was basically to feature every single alien that had appeared in Doctor Who up until that point. And there were a lot of them. And that would have meant many extras, many hours of prosthetics and things. So, yeah, very, very ambitious there. The other character that, well, two characters that he kind of mentioned that he would have liked to have brought back into this episode. One kind of was still mentioned at the very least, which was the Mr. Copper, who was the guy in the Christmas episode, the historian who, you know, became a millionaire because he had a credit card with £1 million on it. He ultimately didn't come back, but they utilised him as being the sort of the founder for the, you know, the Mr. Copper Foundation and you know, building the Subwave network in this episode to bring the Doctor back. So that was a little touch for him there. The other character there wasn't any mention of, and that was the character of Elton from the Dr. Light episode from Series 2, Love and Monsters. I don't know why he really wanted to bring that character back. Maybe I'm in the minority and I just never liked the character and I never really wanted to see him get brought back. There just felt like there would be no story reason to bring him back. And maybe that was ultimately why Russell T Davies didn't bring him back. But this two-part story features Jack, Gwen and Yanto from Torchwood. It features Sarah Jane Smith and her son, Luke Smith, the Mr. Smith computer thing, and of course K9, all from the Sarah Jane Adventures, which is something I haven't actually ever watched. I just don't know why. I just never watched the Sarah Jane Adventures. But that is something I will be doing a reaction to on the channel at some point in the future. And then you've got all the other characters that have pretty much ever featured in New Who since the revival era. So Mickey comes back in the second episode along with Jackie. Rose, of course, comes back. Martha comes back. Yeah, it's like the sort of the Avengers of the Doctor Who universe, and some people love it, some people despise it. I am one of the people that I am on the I love it side. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a bit of a sucker for good kind of fan collaboration, and it's probably the kind of thing that most people, if they still play with toys and stuff, they'd go, oh yeah, what would happen if you put that character in this scene and all this kind of stuff, because this was obviously the first introduction between Captain Jack and, well, many other characters. First interaction with Sarah Jane, with Martha. No, not Martha, sorry. Donna, Donna. So, it led to some fun interactions there. Now, the actual story of it, and basically the Daleks wanting to take over the universe, that's kind of been done to death a little bit. So there had to be something a little bit new and fresh. And what better way for the modern audience than to bring in Davros, who was played by Julian Bleach, who did appear in a Torchwood episode, which kind of led to his casting as Davros. Now, his performance in the Torchwood episode, which I have done a review back, and you can go back and check that out, he was okay in it, but he did enough, I think, in that to convince me that he could play a really good villain. And obviously he does. He comes in and portrays Davros. Now, I've not really seen any of the classic Who iterations of Davros, so I, in a way, can't compare him, which is a good thing. I'm able to look at him with fresh eyes, I should say. He is a good performer. He obviously has got that sort of raspiness to the voice, which he does in his Torchwood appearance as well. And I think it just gives a little bit of something to Davros. Something sort of Dalek-like without being Dalek. And he is good at this sort of megalomaniac sort of screaming to him.
Come with me! I promise I can save you! Never forget, Doctor! You did this! I name you forever! You are the destroyer of worlds!
Does he go a little bit over the top at points? Yes, it is argued that. Is that maybe because Davros in of itself as a character is very over the top? Quite possibly. Obviously, like I said, I've never seen Davros from classic era, so I don't know if that's just he is doing a bit of an impersonation of some of the earlier actors who have played Davros. Maybe I will see that at some point, because I am going to be doing classic Who reactions on the channel, and so at some point, of course, I will reach Genesis of the Daleks, where we meet Davros for the first time. So we'll have to wait and see with that one. Now, I do quite like the design of the Supreme Dalek, the sort of the red and gold. That gives something a little bit fresh and different, because for the most part, with modern Doctor Who so far, we've just had the classic sort of bronze gold kind of Daleks. Obviously, the exception to that would be Dalek Sec, and to an extent the Dalek Emperor from the end of Series 1. This is the first time you see a different coloured Dalek, like an actual coloured Dalek. Obviously, black is not really a colour; it's a shade, if you want to be technical with that. maybe this is what gave Stephen Moffat the idea for, the actual multicoloured Daleks, which that obviously featured in series 5, which I will discuss later down the line when I get to Victory of the Daleks. I have my thoughts on those. And I don't hate them as much as most other people do. But that's time for another review later down the line. For right now, I liked the looks of it. And what I love with Nicholas Briggs, who does the voices of the Daleks, I like the fact that he really thinks about the portrayals of the Daleks that he does. And he tries to make subtle differences to his voice. That's why I think he's such a great vocal performer as the Daleks, and the Cybermen, of course, because he understands the nuances to it. Obviously, he does the normal kind of Daleks just as themselves, and just about gives a slight touch of different personalities to each one, because they're not uniform as much as people like to say they are. They are pretty uniform, but they do still have their own distinct kind of traits to each one. But then you have this sort of Supreme Dalek, who he tries to give this sort of big and grandiose sense of importance to this Dalek, but then he goes to Dalek Khan and he does this sort of sing-songy voice, and he's all crazy and mystical and a little bit like the Joker in the Dark Knight movies. A little bit. I just love that he really thinks about them. It's so good as a performer to be able to do that, because I think vocal performances don't get the appreciation that I think they really do warrant. Now, the Doctor has a bit of a... Well, and Donna herself have such a unique point to this episode, to this story, because David Tennant, of course, has to portray two different Doctors. He has to play the Doctor and the Meta-Crisis Doctor. Now, that shock forced regeneration, I have to put it on record here. I liked it. I'm not going to lie. I really liked it. I feel that the shock factor of a shock regeneration has kind of lost its charm a little bit in more recent years, because they've done it effectively 3 times now. With each of the subsequent Doctors. You did it with Matt Smith with the Impossible Astronaut thing at the start of Series 6. So you had that with Peter Capaldi. Wasn't that with Bill in his last series with the whole pyramid and monks thing or whatever it was? And then, of course, Jodie Whittaker, they managed to shoehorn it into her final episode where they did the whole master thing going into her body. Yeah, absolute craziness with that. So yeah, it's kind of lost its appeal a little bit, and this was the one where it was done right. It did enough to make you think that it was going to be a legitimate regeneration. It wasn't a fake out. I mean, it was a bit of a fake out. You have to say with that, but it was done with intention of being a shock. And I need to say this because it's bugged me for so many years. Can we just do once where we have an actual shock regeneration? And I don't mean in the guise of David Tennant coming back as the 14th Doctor, or in the case of it being a fake out one like it was with Matt Smith or with Peter Capaldi. Let's have a legitimate, proper Doctor come in that they don't announce who it is, and they goddamn surprise us. That would be fantastic to finally see. The problem is, I think, is we live in an era where spoilers are plentiful. People will find a way of spoiling it and learning about something because of all the on-location shooting that you're doing. You are going to get into a situation where it is someone's going to reveal it. They'll say it was me and I'm out there and I'm doing my filming as the Doctor, but then someone will see like the TARDIS or whatever. But you know, in reality, that you can find ways of getting around it because of the advancement of computer-generated imagery, CGI. You can get away with doing it. So, yeah, please, just once. An actual proper incarnation. And I don't really count David Tennant, I'm sorry. I know he is going to be officially the 14th Doctor. I'm still of the opinion I really wish he wasn't coming back. And maybe I should use this as the opportunity to kind of say my piece on this now, because the Doctor and Martha have such a great ending in this episode. You know, the whole scene where Martha has to get her memory wiped. It is the most heartbreaking scene. Donna is just wonderful in that scene, and the pain on Catherine Tate's face when she's performing this scene, it's just beautiful, so perfectly performed. And the way that David Tennant portrays the pain afterwards, after he's done it, and you know, he takes Donna back home and you know, gives her back to her mum and her granddad. It's just so gut-wrenching. And you know, I think that they managed to end it so well in the End of Time episode. I'm just worried that they're going to completely undermine and ruin what a terrific ending we had. And with the 60th anniversary, couple of specials, I'm just worried that they're going to be trying to focus too much on the, dare I say, golden generation of Doctor Who, which this, by a lot of fans, is what this era has kind of come to be known as. It is the pinnacle of new Doctor Who. So with Russell T Davies coming back, and David Tennant coming back, and Catherine Tate coming back, is it just trying to pull too much on the heartstrings rather than looking to the future? Which is what I feel that the 50th anniversary did so well. It had that balance of, you know, looking back at the past, but looking to the future as well. And that's what I'm kind of worried about. Because, of course, the majority of what we're looking at is the past. We're looking at David Tennant and Catherine Tate and Russell T Davies. So I won't lie and say that I'm not a little bit concerned with that. But as for this episode, I freaking loved it. There will be one bit of it that always sticks out as a massive sore thumb to me. And I'm going to point it out here. And it's going to be one of those that you've probably missed it on watches of this episode. And I'm going to point it out now. And you'll go, how did I miss that?
It's not just Dalek cars.
Now, it is obviously well known that Doctor Who doesn't necessarily film its scenes in order. Because of an episode like this, especially, you've got to try and match everybody up and all different schedules and things. You know, it's a challenge. Now, the scene where the children of time, you know, all of the Doctor's companions, have been getting the Doctor back through the Medusa Cascade, and they all appear on screen together, and they're all shouting at the Doctor. Martha said something that she shouldn't have said at this point. She says it's not just Dalek Khan. At this point, would not be known to Martha, or to Jack, or to Rose, or anybody there that Dalek Khan is alive. I mean, obviously Jack wouldn't have known who Dalek Khan is. Rose would have, but didn't know that he would have kind of come back. But Martha does, because Martha was there in the in 1920s New York during the Depression, the whole Daleks in Manhattan thing. She met Dalek Khan, and Dalek Khan was the last living survivor of the cult of Skaro. Great, perfect, okay. But at this point, Martha has not been on the Dalek spaceship. Dalek Khan himself has not come through on any kind of speakers or anything to say that he is there. Martha would not know that. That has bugged me for all of these years. For the last, 15 years, it has really bugged me that she says that. And that was poor on the directing and editing part, in my opinion. Just putting it out there. But overall, yeah, I really loved this episode. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Yes, there are criticisms I can give it, don't get me wrong, but it's a great episode. Now I've got to score it. Now, if you are new to my Doctor Who reviews, firstly, where have you been? But what I do for all of my Doctor Who reviews is I give them a score out of 100. I do that by giving 10 categories a score out of 10, and I use that to be able to rank and review my episodes and score them properly, which I am going to be doing something, coming up. I've got a couple of different plans for, rankings of different episodes for the sort of Russell T. Davies era, so stay tuned for that. But for right now, let's check out my scores for The Stolen Earth and Journey's End. So there you have it. This two-part story has scored 86 marks out of 100, which means it is an A+ rated episode. Let me know down in the comments below what your thoughts were of Series 4 as a whole, and particularly of this two-part story. Don't forget, I am going to be doing the 4 specials, so make sure you stick around for those. And then, of course, we will have the Doctor Who 60th Anniversary Month, where I will be reacting to some classic Doctor Who. I am going to be doing rankings. I'm going to be reacting to the Sarah Jane Adventures, at the very least the first ever episode, and probably do the rest of that at some point. At some point, obviously soon, I'm going to be having to review Torchwood Children of Earth and Torchwood Miracle Day, so stick around for that. And I do loads of different reactions on different days of the week as well, so stay tuned for all of my content. But for today, my name's Kevin, I am a geek, and you've been watching Kevin the Geek. Goodbye.